Well, yeah, I guess we wanted to respond. Let's start.
All right, it is 6 o'clock, so we will get started. We have a quorum. My understanding is Pete, if we are still going at 7, will join us at 7, but we will do our best to be as expeditious as possible. Our first order of business is to accept the minutes of our August 14th regular meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Excellent. Visitors' comments. Is there anybody here for anything that is not on the agenda? Since we have a lot of people here for things on the agenda, I would entertain a motion to take our new business out of order so that we can talk about what these folks are here to talk about. Okay, any further discussion? Those in favor? Aye. All right, first item under new business is the GWI contract. Thank you to the IMB committee and Donna for being here in person. My understanding of kind of where this process is that the broadband committee, a subcommittee, has been working on drafting a new contract for the past several months. That it has been reviewed by town council and the committee has reviewed and that's just sort of my summary, but I guess I would turn it over now, I guess, to John as chair of the IMB committee to introduce this in any way that you would like.
Sure, thank you. Let me do this by sort of starting with, we've had this, the existing IMB contract, the one under which we're running now, has been running since 2017. We're into our 7th year of the contract. It's been I think we would all agree, a pretty successful arrangement, getting IMB onto the island. We've had one outage, which I think was a major outage sort of that hit the East Coast and killed a lot of broadband. And I think that may have lasted for, I can't remember, 8 or 10 hours or something like that. It was fairly short-lived. And so it's been a successful arrangement to this point. And so what we did was took the existing contract and we went to first of all, of course, we had to get the town's approval to do the negotiation without it going out to bid, which we got the town's approval to do that at that meeting, at the school board meeting, I'll call it. So we got that one done. And so we continued with the draft. And we modeled the draft document on the contracts that GW has in place with its other clients at the moment, just sort of to bring it into conformity with that. Because the original contract was set up for the development of a brand new network. And so there was a lot of things in that contract that really didn't apply to an ongoing operation. So we just wanted to bring that in and conform it to the existing sort of operating agreements. Amongst the other items that we negotiated, we sort of simplified the monthly billing arrangement to make it a little easier for Tina to send out bills. It's a single simple per subscriber per month invoice fee. We did add a mechanism to review repair invoices because Frank had actually brought up at an IMB meeting some time ago about the possibility of having too many or having excessive bills on a time and materials basis. So we did insert something in there that allows us to check for reasonableness and the repair costs are aligned with local costs for similar work. So there's a check mechanism in place on that. But repairs do remain on a time and materials basis. We asked GWI to increase the insurance coverage. It was previously 5 million total. And they did some investigation and increased it to 10 million of their coverage without any additional cost to us. We GWI is privately held, and there is a possibility that they might sell their operation or sell the company at some point to somebody else, which was of concern to us. And so there was language in there about, would not unreasonably withhold our agreement. We changed that, to put into the contract a sort of window such that if GWI is sold, and we don't like the new buyer, after 90 days, we have an opportunity, or in a window from 90 days to 180 days, we have an opportunity to say, we don't like the new buyer, cancel the contract, and no termination fee. So if we don't like the new buyer, then they have 90 days essentially to prove that they're the good guys. And if they don't, then we have the option to, within 90 days after that, to cancel the contract. And then it just goes into a standard termination language, which is GWI will work with us while we find a new provider. So that we inserted. GWI reduced, at our request, reduced the bandwidth fee by about 15%, which were about $10,000. So the current contract is in fact lower than the contract that we've been operating on over the last 7 years. And I might add that GWI, although they had the right to, have not increased the rates on the per subscriber amount for the last 7 years. So the contract that we have now is the same price that we had 7 years ago. That is not to say they won't do that in the future, but to this point, that's an indication of where they are. We changed a requirement that they hire an Islesboro resident as the primary service support contractor, what used to be called the OIC, on island contractor, to make it a preference for an island resident, and that is again in the contract. GWI has got a list of authorized individuals who can work on the network. They tell us who those are, and we can have input into that and say who we'd like to have and sort of make recommendations, and they will take that into consideration. Then other smaller items, a requirement that the town provides a bucket truck. And GWI can use that bucket truck if they choose. They can lease it, they can rent it to use that bucket truck. We superseding the current contract with a 10-year contract, locking it in for a longer period of time we thought was wise. That was essentially the changes that we made from the existing contract. So a lot of it is wording with some substantial changes in reviewing repair costs, modifying the change of control provision, really that was the sort of big items, and then reformatting it in the way of GWI's normal contracts. So we had a subcommittee negotiating with GWI, and then we took at the last IMB, not the most recent one, in the June IMB meeting, again, a public meeting, we discussed with the group there, essentially these changes. This is what we talked about. So these are the modifications that we're in the process of going through, and that was pretty close to being done. The last items were the insurance issue and some standard language, always that you argue about on reps and warranties and indemnification provisions. There's always at the last items to get thrashed out in a contract, and so those were resolved. And the contract that you now see is a result of that. So we would recommend. I think it's the relationship with GWI has been good. They provided service, and I think that be in good hands with this contract if we were to continue forward. So our recommendation to the select board is that you take this contract and approve it, and we keep rolling.
Thank you for that presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a comment. It looks like a very, very thorough process that you went through. Appreciate very much all the work that you put into this. It's pretty impressive. And it sounds like as well, our attorneys have looked at this and have had no problem with what's contained in it.
Correct. I mean, something that, that Mark Bauer wanted to make sure is there is a provision in there, which I'm not sure if it's unique to Maine. Steve may have better, information on that is, and it was in the original contract. He just wanted to make sure it was in this one as well. Where, if the town, decides not to fund, IMB, is then the contract goes away. Is we can't enter into a contract that the town won't fund. And so that was his primary concern with the contract. Otherwise, it's not a complicated contract. It's fairly straightforward. And so I think that that was the primary issue, that he just wanted to make sure that we had that in here. That was his review. And then with the change of control language, he had some input into that one, as well. And we moved some language around to make sure that works.
No, I was thinking, we did add a component to the contract where we get an annual review of the system. You need to be proactive in terms of seeing what's needs attention and that sort of stuff, like a maintenance punch list, so we can stay ahead of things. So that's a new addition to the arrangement.
I have a question, not necessarily specific about the contract, but I'm just interested, Donna, in are there other communities that you work with in a similar relationship? I know that we have sort of a bit of a unique relationship in that we own the infrastructure and contract out I'm not gonna say it correctly, but the kind of the operations, and is that a unique relationship, or is that something that you see increasing, or kind of how, can you just speak to sort of how that relationship is different than
We
other?
we do have another municipality, Sanford Net, they own the facility, the network, and we operate it and provide our bandwidth over it. It's not a residential network like yours is, it's mostly a commercial network. And the city, went and got grant funding to bring that fiber network into Sanford, because there really wasn't any other fiber network to the industrial parks and the downtown, and they needed that to attract business. So they were able to get the grant money, they built it, and then we won the bid to operate it. So that's another network we work with. A lot of the other networks that we work on, the ones we're working on now, and that's what we modeled this new agreement after, is the networks that we work on in Vermont. So, Vermont has been very active in raising funding to build out regional networks, not just towns and not, or counties, but like large tracts of areas. And, so we are the operator, the one who delivers the bandwidth, and they own that. These, they're called CUDs, community. I can't remember what the term is. I know it's kind of an interesting word, CUD, because there's a lot of cows out there, but anyway. And we have continually, because of our expertise and our ability to operate networks and have the staff to operate the networks. And the fact that I think we are a B Corp, so we're very transparent with our customers. And a lot of our DNA is to bring fiber to communities. It has been since day one, since Fletcher started the company 30 years ago next month. We have won Deerfield Fiber, DD Fiber, which is the southern part of Vermont. A middle section called EC Fiber, and these are counties, and that you're talking like 8,000 or 9,000 people. And now we just won another one to operate Northwest Fiber Works. So we do have this expertise. And it all started pretty much with Islesboro. Mhm. I hope that answers your question.
Yep, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Frank, I see your hand raised, go ahead.
Oh, I know I sent an email earlier. I'd start by asking, John, can you point, I've only gone through this with a breeze through, so can you point in the contract where it says if GWI is bought out, we have 90 days to terminate? Because I did not, and I'm not saying it's not there, I just didn't find that.
Sure, let me flip through it, I don't have the, anything, but it's going to be
10.1.
10.1, let me, thank you, Steve. Assignment 10.1. If it's sold, and I'm in the middle of the paragraph, network operator will provide
Okay,
written notice
let's do
thereof to TCB, right to terminate this agreement by written notice, no less than 90, no more than 180 days.
As you know, I had sent an email back to you concerned of how fast this contract came out with no time for anyone to really ask questions, and then kind of your email saying you're hoping to be done in 5 minutes. Which really feels like, again, this is just something that's getting pushed, right through. And it's the first time it came public was 2 weeks ago for the public to see. I asked the select board if they could table this until the end of September, to have a chance to ask these questions and get some stuff clarified. But, I saw the part in here where it says, the town would like a network operator, acknowledges the town has expressed preference that qualified town residents be considered for such authorized work where appropriate. But I also asked at the last meeting, not the one that just recently happened before, but if the town can ask for specific people or companies not to work on the network. And I kind of got a weird look by you and others about like, no, that's not it. But in this contract, it says, network operator will provide town names or list of names such as authorized personnel and accept town's comments, which GWI may factor into hiring or authorizing decisions. So it just almost seems like they've covered bases. The town can say, we don't want company XYZ to work on this. And then it kind of also gives GWI a way out of saying, well, we could have had the repairs or something done sooner, but the only one that was available were companies that you didn't want working on this.
What section is that, Frank?
Pardon?
Can you tell me what section that is so I can see what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's 1.5.
I mean, I'll make one minor comment, because I was not on the subcommittee for the contract, and as far as timing goes, right, I think in every broadband meeting we have had over the last year, this has been a topic of conversation, including every layer that we were considering for change. And so even if there was a subcommittee working on it separately, and I understand the concern about the final contract perhaps not being available in a time that, you might feel is appropriate. All the details were discussed in depth at every single committee meeting, including the detailed list of what was going to change. And including drafts of the contracts that were, discussed and reviewed, and were open for public, questions and comments. And so it was not done secretly, it was not done surreptitiously, it was done openly, with a lot of thought and detail. So the very last meeting was really the final stamp of approval of everything we had already been discussing and approving all along. And so those prior discussions really did go into every item that John discussed was changed, was fully laid out, especially in that June meeting. So, I can understand where, some of the communications at the very end, because, I think as humans, we don't know all the protocols for the select board meetings. We haven't done this recently. So I do think there were, maybe we missed a quick turnaround on something. But it was only to meet the expectations of trying to do this in a timely way, knowing we're working on a tentative contract at the moment. So
Yeah, because
long-winded way of saying that, there was a lot of public opportunity to be part of those conversations.
I see 1.5 stating that you gotta be authorized. The town can have some input on, the qualifications of who's authorized to work here. And that we wanna have locals do the work if we can. So Frank, so the concern there, just so I understand it,
The town can express what companies they do or do not want working on the network, which then makes it problematic, in my opinion, for both the town and GWI for any accountability of repairs, because it can easily be said that, well, it could have been done sooner, but the only people who are available were people that you had on your list not to work on it.
yeah,
I want to touch, I want to touch back just to Laura right quick. Laura, I've actually, under the FOA, requested copies of the contracts that were going back and forth, and was specifically told that that was not public information and that I could not have a copy of any of it because it was in negotiations until the negotiations were finalized. And
That's right, because the actual contracts are private while they're in negotiations, but the meat of what was expected to change and the summaries are what we shared publicly and what we discussed. So the literal legal language in the contract was kept private, as is pretty typical in any negotiation of a contract.
and I understand that and I respect that, but I thought that there would probably be more than 2 weeks for people to be able to look at it and ask questions, get clarification before it was sent right to the select board to sign, after we've also already pushed it out of a public hearing and a town vote for a minimum of $2.6 million contract. I just feel, no 2.6 million we've spent on anything do we push this fast past the public. And I don't know. It just seems that this is getting pushed fast, like quick, let's do it. And I know that Roger had said in the past that he told GWI that they need to have a contract sorted out by January 1st, or it's going out to bid. And here we are way past that point. So I know what's said in meetings and kind of what's discussed, but it doesn't necessarily always translate into the contract. And I've been an advocate from the beginning, before the committee even existed, asking and begging that they put something in for repairs and how that's going to work, and some kind of standards and some kind of accountability. And right now, all that's listed is like they'll work on it. And I've been personally told by GWI that while looking for someone or looking to schedule someone is considered working on it. And so this one still brings the concerns of accountability, and there's no clear what is considered working on it, or what happens if they don't. Extenuating circumstances, do they get to say the ferry didn't run for 2 trips, so that's extenuating circumstances, it pushes off 2 days? But like there's a lot here. It's hard to go over in just a quick select board meeting to get questions answered.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would add, and I'm sure Barry and John want me to stop talking. The only thing I would add is that this is not a brand new vendor or a brand new contract. So this is a continuation of an existing relationship and contract with no material financial changes, including a $10,000 gain for the town and consistent subscriber costs. So while I hear you that, normally a contract of this size, if it were brand new, if it had gone out to RFP, and if we were evaluating new vendors, would likely require a significant amount of additional scrutiny. This is a continuation, right? And it's meaningfully not different. And there are provisions in there for managing repair costs. And so, so I think I'd also add that I don't know the budget numbers explicitly, but we have never been over budget on IMB. There has never been a situation where the repair costs have gotten out of control, where we have unnecessarily spent town money. So it hasn't proven to be a problem in the past that requires that I'll look to other members of the committee to kind of validate that for me, but go ahead.
I thought I heard from John that there's now an annual review of the system with punch card, et cetera. So, yeah.
That's true, and it can be more frequent than that. We can review invoices as they come in monthly. we can review an invoice and say, this looks out of whack. So why, is this out of whack? And I think something else that is going to improve our accountability and our general operations going forward, is that Donna or a representative of GWY is going to be in our IMB meetings on a quarterly basis. And so we will have an opportunity to, if there's public issues that people think that something is not happening, there will be a GWY rep there to say why or why not.
I have to say something.
Mhm.
And I guess it's been about 2 years now, we did, whenever we send an invoice to Janet, we send a corresponding spreadsheet, which you guys all get now. Before it was Roger and others. That describes each reason there was a dispatch. And we take those notes right from Page bills, put them in there, but before we even approve the bill we receive from Page Monthly, you have 3 different departments scrutinizing it. Accounting, sales, and our support department, and network. We all look at the bill, we check exactly what happened, we agree, we look at the ticket that was created to go out on a dispatch, why this happened. And we've caught some like, oops, you know, this has been billed before, oops, let's take that off the bill. We've scrutinized those bills monthly, we put it on a spreadsheet, we do our best to make sure it matches when it hits the bill that you get. And if it doesn't, you get a backup email from Donna saying, this was not put on your spreadsheet. Now it matches your bill, we were off by $130, sorry. But we described the case number, everything that happened, and in detail. So that was something we started doing, I guess it's been about 2 years now, and I review those spreadsheets before, when I receive those spreadsheets, is it's kicked out of a automated system. I review them and make sure it matches the bill every month. So there is a lot of accountability, I believe, on that side, and we do review all the bills.
I would say, there's still stuff that I've brought up to the committee that's 6 months old and over a year old that hasn't been fixed or repaired and doesn't even get a response anymore, to that. So again, that's back to my concern of, you know, if we've got stuff that's over a year that still hasn't been done, and we have stuff from January storms that still haven't been done, you know, it doesn't even look in this contract that anything comes up. So long as there's not subscribers out, it doesn't violate anything. And I would have to ask Donna, you, for GWI and its other communities, the contractors you use, do they have piece rate or do they bill GWI time and materials for all their repairs?
Our on island, well, I shouldn't call it island, on island contractor, our contractor that's local. Those costs, we get billed for time and materials if they're not owned by IMB or the network. And that's a pass-through cost. We don't add anything on top. We're literally just passing bills over. When it comes to the large network where we have to bring, I can think of one company, Hawkeye, who's one of our vetted and approved contractors we use for everything. We bring them, I know we brought them on island before, right, Paige? Okay. Hawkeye is a company we've been using for years and rely on them a lot. And how that gets billed, I'd have to ask Network how those bills come through. Because that's usually for a larger repair that I'm not involved in. I'm involved in the installations and I review the dispatch tickets for customers' issues. So I can find out for you. I haven't heard that we are a year behind on any repairs, but I'm not in that department, so sorry I do not have that knowledge here, if I can find out. Paige, if you know of any year-old repairs that,
I mean, Frank raises these kind of issues all the time. He'd have to be specific about something. But I mean, he just looks for ways to show shortcomings any way he can. Right
But I-
now, anything that's a major problem has been resolved. And then there are some smaller things that are minor issues that linger, but Right now, we always focus on the higher priority issues first.
which is subscribers being down. So I mean, and Frank, I believe you have Chris Whalen's contact too. You're more than welcome to reach out to him anytime. We're very transparent on that, and, but Chris is the director of our network, and I can ask him if he knows of any outstanding issues as well. I was not aware.
I
of
can
any.
tell you, I've reached out to Chris Whalen several times, but that actually doesn't get a response. So that's
Okay, well, I'll let him know that.
kind of hard, but to Paige's thing, there's lash and wires and pole transfers and poles that were broke that
Can I-
haven't been over yet.
Can I just interject here? I feel like just sort of procedurally in thinking about how we track issues and kind of length of issues, I guess, is that something that you feel like will be able to be tracked more easily in the annual network review and I guess kind of with the quarterly meetings with Donna? I understand that there may be sort of detailed network issues or questions at this point, but I feel like in the contract, what we're looking for is what, you know, understanding how we can go about tracking the issues and making sure that we're all on the same page to offer as timely a repair as possible.
I think
Yeah.
Donna's presence in our quarterly IMB meetings, will facilitate that, a
Yes.
lot.
And if I'm not there, which I know I'm not gonna be at the next one, because I'll be at a wedding in Italy, but besides that. I'm gonna make sure that somebody's at that meeting, just I need the time, and, you know, I know the date, but not the time.
So
And-
it seems like we need to move on. If there's another issue, not having to do with repairs and outstanding repairs or, you know, that will be resolved as we go forward. If there's another issue,
I just want to ask a clarificational question to IMB. This has been out, this has been public for 2 weeks for review for the town of Wellsboro, correct?
Mhm.
Have you guys received any correspondence other than, Mr. Start of questions, comments, or concerns that were not forwarded on to the select board about the
Uh,
contract?
No,
Thank you.
Is,
And
and
you? No. Okay.
so I guess you guys are getting to the end here, but is there a reason why we didn't keep any testing for repairs in or pictures like was suggested, you know, a year ago about providing pictures and tests for the repairs? To show that it's in good working order, the same way the GWI requires that when they have stuff done?
you know, I think that that's something that, sort of the process that should probably be in place. I mean, it's GWI's relationship with their contractor who's doing something on the island. So if there's a problem, the contractor on the island does it. And then, you know, GWI has a contract with that person. And that's where any of the sort of issues on was it done appropriately and everything else should go to GWI. And then we should probably have audit rights, if you will, which I think we do in this contract, to take a look at those reports and have insight into those reports. But I think that that's GWI's responsibility to manage their own contractor on the island appropriately, with us being a sort of
Oversight.
not supervisory, but an oversight, which is actually the name of the committee. I mean, we're an oversight committee, to make sure that GWI is in fact getting those things done. But those specific items on every contract, on every repair, I don't think is something that the IMB should be looking at on every occasion. GWI needs to make sure that the contractor is doing the right job.
And we mentioned in the contract, our operator responsibility, 1.3. That the network operator will provide the network operator services in accordance with applicable laws, regulations, codes, industry standards. And then our service level agreement to the island, Schedule B. Talks about, our protocol for restoration.
Okay.
Also signing that.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contract as is. I think the information that's been provided has been very detailed and plausible to understand. We can always continue to improve this, but a partnership of 7 years that's worked pretty much flawlessly and hasn't had a price increase is remarkable. So my motion is to approve the contract as is.
Second,
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
You will leave you to get on with the good stuff.
I thought this was the good stuff.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah.
It slices, it dices.
Keeping up with the new business, let's go to signing the special town meeting warrant for 9/4 for the IAP, boundary issue. I know, Barbara Talamo wrote a nice memo sort of outlining, what the issue is with this, and I see Pete Anderson and Barbara are here, and Barbara has her hand up, so I would turn it over to both of you to.
That's actually Fred with his hand up.
Oh, Fred, sorry, you're very, you're so close together.
That's a lefty versus a
Yes.
right.
Fred,
Fred.
Did I miss visitors' comments and petitions?
no.
No.
No, we took the meeting out of order
Okay.
because at the time, yeah, so, we will address that. We'll go right back to that as soon as we get done with the IEP boundary.
Okay,
We will go
thank
back
you.
into- Okay, thank you. Please.
All right, so, Shay said I'm here to talk about the boundary agreement between town of Islesboro and Islesboro Affordable Property. Barbara did write a very nice cover letter that pretty much explained it all. But just a quick summary, I would say that over the years, there have been several surveys done in the area, not all of them were 100% correct. And this is an agreement to figure out just where the line ought to be. So then we have to get this approved so we can get financing for some houses that we're planning to bring to the island. Gartley and Dorsey have done this survey map, and the area of contention is right in here between the blue line and the red dotted lines. And with the lawyers at the funding, Maine State Housing Funding, were insistent that we get this fixed before we move forward. So what the boundary agreement does is says, Islesboro affordable property, you forget about where your property line is. Islesboro, you forget about where your property is. We're gonna look at this and put it where it should be. Turns out it should be right where the blue line is, and yours is somewhere over here, which should be, go over to the blue line. So in effect, you realize additional property. It's not that we're giving you property or anybody's doing anything like that. It's just, what should have been done all along, and we just need to make it right. And aside is, this keeps going. The, boundary line discrepancy. So you have an additional boundary line discrepancy with the greens.
Okay.
And I think Gartley and Dorsey said they've told you about that before, and
Are you guys, your initial plans was on the blue line, right? Or was your blue plan on the red line, the red dotted line?
our initial is on the blue line.
So this doesn't change anything for
It does
you at
not.
all whatsoever?
Right.
And you're not asking for the red line?
We're-
Extra area.
We're just saying that, no, we're not
Okay, cool.
asking for that property. We're just saying,
Right,
this
This
is
is
your
good.
property,
Okay.
please accept it.
right. Okay, thank you.
force us.
Force us.
But because it's a gray area, it is rather than a gift of land, which we have permission at town meeting to
Yeah.
do. Because it is a different kind of gray area, we need to have a special town meeting in order to have the voters approve this.
Yeah.
Perfect boundary line agreement. Any,
Voters, like the whole community.
correct, so
Yeah.
this is, so what we
Special town meeting.
are doing to do, right, is a special town meeting with this, the only warrant, the warrant language is in
Yes.
our
I
packet.
saw that.
And I guess before I entertain a motion to approve the special town meeting warrant for September 4th. Is there any further questions, discussion?
Not intending to open up a can of worms in any way, shape or form.
Don't.
Does this also fix the green issue? The ones
No.
behind it, or is this just IAP's
This
issue?
is just,
Cool.
Maybe up to the greens at some point, and then we could add it all together and just be done with it.
Yeah.
Stay with this.
unfortunately, we have a separate,
And you guys have a
boundary line
different time.
agreement with preschool and a separate one with Williams Bowman. Niskowitz.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion to sign the special town meeting warrant?
So moved.
Second,
Any further discussions, questions?
what time is the meeting? Is the time?
It's gonna be 6 o'clock here.
Oh, 'cause it's not. I thought
6
it was
o'clock when?
September 4th.
September 4th,
Okay,
week from today.
okay. I was thinking it was a select board day, and so I was thinking 5:30. Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Thanks, Vicky.
All right, with that, entertain and motion to go back into regular order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're back to visitors' comments. Fred, if you'd like to add anything.
Yeah, I told Janet, last week I was gonna come in tonight we're in the middle of the FEMA reporting process right now. And there was 2 areas that we assessed that I think that the select board really needs to go look at and needs to have conversations and talk about funding for. The first one is the town beach. On the left side, the east side, as you're driving down onto the town beach where all the little picnic areas are, there's places where you've lost probably 20, 25 feet of embankment. And there's nothing there protecting it, which means if we get another big storm, you're gonna keep losing pieces and pieces of town beach. And I was listening to one of the meetings and I remembered something that meant a lot to me that you guys said, that we're gonna try to look out for the future of Islesboro and make sure that the next generation has access and everything's kind of left to them in good order. And I remembered that and I said, the select board really needs to go to the town beach and take a look at that. The rest of the place is fine. I mean, that point is that point. You'll never do any work out there. But that little cove there where all the picnic areas are, you're gonna keep losing land in there and then there will be nothing for people to enjoy. The next area that I wanted to mention was Warren Landon. And the reason that I mentioned Warren Landon in the same theme that we had mentioned a minute ago was about the future for young people. That's become a very special park area up there. As a matter of fact, one afternoon when I was on patrol, I sat up there doing some paperwork because it's peaceful and beautiful. And there was 6 or 7 different local families that were out on the grass and were enjoying that. And I know that little point that goes out, that we all have pulled our vehicles out there at one point or another on that little point. I know that that's useless to some extent, but you lost a lot of that. And every time the water comes in a big storm like that, you're going to continue to lose pieces of that. And looking at people enjoying that, it's a wonderful park area for the people that live in the town of Islesboro. All I'm asking is, I think that because I shouldn't be making these decisions, it should be you guys, is that I started a project for both those locations. When we set up the FEMA portal, I worked with FEMA and I started projects on them. And as Carrie will, I will verify, they are set up by FEMA as projects, but we're on the clock now. And as a matter of fact, we're probably going to need to make some decisions, at least have a conversation at the next select board meeting about what you would like to do with those spots. If you just choose to not do it, it's not going to affect me. But, you know, I wanted to make sure that was on your dish, because I think that needs to be a discussion about that. And I think there needs to be a discussion about putting Warren Landon back to the original condition that it was in. Now, on top of that, not only can we seek funding for the work we did in kind of restoring those areas, there's also mitigation funds that are at play there, because we can do some work to improve that. And some of that could be some seawall work. If we decided not to do some seawall work, it could be vegetation and netting in the embankment. There's a bunch of stuff you can do, and I'm sure you could find somebody that could help you set that up. But I really think that at Town Beach and Warren Landon, I think all you folks really need to go down, take a look at it, and then make a decision at the next select board meeting, because we have to have all these projects in and ready to go, I believe by the 20th of September. And I think in your discussion, it's going to come down to the 75-25 split and the money up front, and then hopefully getting the whole thing reimbursed. And so that's the big discussion, is whether, you know, how you would fund that and how you do that. That's up to you. But I really would like to invite you all to go down and look at that. And I know you can't all go together because that's technically a meeting, but at least go down individually, or two of you, whatever you can do. Take a look at those two areas, and then at the next meeting, I think there needs to be a decision on that. That's all I had. Thank you for listening to me.
Thanks. Can I ask you a question, Fred?
Sure.
Do you have an example? I mean, I think, thank you for pointing those two things out and for bringing the timeliness issue to our attention. Do you have an example of what kind of having it become a project, what this state or feds need from us as far as a plan goes for each of those locations? I feel like kind of a template for what they expect and the level of planning would be really helpful in that future discussion.
Right now, what we're putting in the portal is we're putting pictures of the damage. We did have 2 FEMA visits. One was with the lady that's managing our case. And also just last week, I had the site review inspectors out to look at those sites. And we spent some time at Town Beach. They actually thought that was a worthy project if that was something that the town decided to do. What we need right now is I've already got the project opened. We will probably need to get an estimate, and probably need to get, like Janet knows, probably need an estimate. You'll need to have a design put in place, and then have an estimate put together. We're looking at once you start the work, or once you've put a design in place, I'm pretty sure it's 2 years you have to finish the project. Christy, the manager, didn't get back to me this afternoon with that answer, but I believe we have 2 years to get the project done. As a matter of fact, the 2017 storm, I think it was, that we got money from reimbursed last time, just closed out 3 weeks ago. And so it stayed open for a long time because of the extensive amount of wind damage there was from that storm. I don't know what doing well means in like with Janet's size and numbers, but I'm sure it was better than bare knuckling it and paying for all of ourselves. But the mitigation funds is really, you know, the mitigation guy has offered to come back out to the island that works for FEMA. And he loved it out here. And he says, I would love to come back out and meet with you guys when I'm not so rushed, because all the inspectors were there. And if you guys think it would be worthwhile, I might try to get him out to maybe, or get him to Zoom maybe for the next meeting, or see if he'll come out before then. I'm not sure what his schedule is, but right now we're trying to get the proposals together. get the damages that were already fixed added into the portal. Any estimates we're loading into the portal. Carrie, have I missed anything else?
Invoices.
Yeah, the invoices, yep.
That's all I can think of, but there are
Yeah,
no
and-
invoices for those two areas, yeah.
Yeah, so I think, you know, I don't wanna hold your meeting up, but I just wanted to get this on your plate. And if anybody wants to go down, I'm more than happy to go down with you anytime. Just get a hold of me and unless I'm on an ambulance call or something, I'll go right down with you.
Brad, can I ask, I'm sorry, maybe you asked this while I stepped out. Where was that second location? I know what Pendleton Point is, what's the other one?
Warren Landon,
Where?
that's up at Joint Point. It's up by the old post office.
No.
The old post office, over
No.
right here, I mean?
The Privet post office, when you're going up that way, you
Oh,
turn
way up.
where it
Remember
says
Priscilla
Privet.
Ford's house?
Oh, yeah,
Steve, I could show it to you.
yeah, no, I'd like to,
I'll take you in the Jeep.
no, thank you, I'll go with Fred.
All right.
All right, I'm here
um,
if anybody has any questions.
Thanks, Fred. And is that something we could add to our next meeting's agenda?
Because now's the time to take it out of the project list if we don't think we want to do it.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's hard
Thank
to
you.
put down other things. That's the only problem. I've been prioritizing roads that people drive on. You know, Town Beach, I understand that, and it does need some filling on the back.
Yeah, I feel like it would be helpful, and when we talk about it, to have a sort of comprehensive list of what is, like, what are the projects basically that are on the list, so that, because.
Yeah, and I like, I'm kind of ignorant, Fred, of the process, so if you put in a request, just say for the items that we really need, but in addition, we do the Town Beach and up at Joint Point. When does the clock start? You say we have 2 years and we have to get an estimate. We need all the information in right away, but
The clock's on now.
the clock starts on matching funds from FEMA?
The
You get me?
clock's on now to get this assessed and get it in there. So how that process worked was when the storm hit, the day after the 10th, on the 11th, I went around and that's when I found Lorena's Cove and, I hadn't looked at Town Beach at that point. Then when the 13th hit, more damage came in the same areas, because they had already been opened up from the 10th and damage had been done. And that's when I went down and looked at Town Beach. Then Janet had some contractors down in there cleaning up trees and stuff. And once everything was out of the way, you could really see the impact in that little cove. And I'm glad they did that because I would have probably never noticed it if it hadn't have been for the trees and brush and stuff out of the way. So when we added projects in the FEMA portal, we took the damaged areas that were town areas that needed to be repaired. So we put in the town dock repairs that were done. For example, we put in the broadband, that's another project. We put in all the road damages, like I even submitted for that culvert down on Pendleton Point Road next to Stafford's house, because that whole thing washed out and undermined the road and we had to block half the road off from that same storm, all the water that went through there. And even though that's a small culvert and a small thing, you know, anything we can get reimbursed on, you know, that's what we did the last storm. Sometimes you get a lot of it back, sometimes you don't. That's the roll of the dice. But on this one, this is probably gonna be the one chance you'll have to get some mitigation money towards in improving how it holds together and improving the system, and then also some money in kind for the work that we've already done in place. That's why the estimates are important. If you have an architect or an engineer that does some information, that will be money that we would be adding to that. But we're on the clock right now, and we've been on the clock for the last couple of 3 weeks because when she came out and then the site reviewers came out, those projects were opened up and she sends us those projects. So like I said, we have Town Beach, We have one culvert and piece of road we're fixing on Pendleton Point Road. We had some storm debris that we're gonna add in, some of the emergency services time that we're adding in. We probably will not be able to get any brush that was moved from roadside because we have to have a DEP permit to haul it to. I think the best thing we can do in the future is to keep chipping like we did years ago. I did all the roadsides on this island back in 99 and 98 after the ice storm, and we chipped everything. And now you can get 100% reimbursement for any brush on the side of the road if you chip it and shoot it in the woods. We can also get 100% reimbursement if we can haul the brush to a pit that has a DEP permit. And we don't have that on the island, so that kind of quells it. We ran into that last time. We got Warren Landon, we've got the backfill of the seawall at Hughes Point. We have Warren Landon's Hughes Point. We have all the repairs that are being done or have been done in kind at the Narrows, Lorena's Cove, Charlotte's Cove. The work at Charlotte's Cove has already been done, so we could get that reimbursed. But the problem is that there's still some rock work that needs to be down there. It either went down the beach and disappeared or whatever happened. And that could fall under some mitigation work. And that's why I was really pushing having that guy back out to meet with all of us. Because if we could get some of the mitigation work compensated, we'd have to talk with him to see what they can do. What I'm
Brad?
trying to do is get things improved with the damage that was done that we can get compensated for.
Yeah, Fred, I was actually trying to understand the timeline that we would be under once we submitted the invoice, once we got the estimates, once we knew, let's just say that we want to work on the town beach and we get all the estimates, we give them to you, they're in the portal. When do the clocks start ticking that we have to have the funding for that? Can
Just
we
soon as that
delay
project's approved. When
Okay.
that project's approved, then that's when the clock starts ticking up to get the work done. And that's when I believe, and I tried to get a hold of Christie right before our meeting tonight, because it's been kind of busy and I haven't been able to keep up with everything, but I believe she said it's 2 years, so we have 2 years to get the project done. But we also have the ability, and I had told Carrie this today, I couldn't believe they actually put it in the portal because last time it wasn't there. We can request an extension. So say, for instance, we couldn't get the work done within the 2 years, we can request an extension if we have a good reason to what delayed us getting to the job. I really can't, I don't dare say what those reasons could be. But I was amazed that that was in the portal. I was actually excited because we didn't have that before. It used to be, it used to be quite a process to try to get an extension. Now they got a button in there, so thank God for that. But I believe it's 2 years, Lauren.
Okay. Thanks.
Great.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, back under ferry service update, just really briefly, the DOT meeting last Thursday. I thought it was very informative. The project they were very clear was basically just looking at the dolphins, at getting the pens kind of from the existing pens further out. Recognizing that the new boat will be larger than our current boat. And they talked a lot about the energy changes that are needed in order to plan for the hybrid nature of the boat. And they're planning for fast charging on the mainland and trickle charging on the mainland and just trickle charging on the island. There was lots of questions about they're planning for a sea level rise and getting to the existing infrastructure, and they basically said that was not within the scope of their current project. And the project manager that they have is focused on this project. I feel like we drove that point home as much as possible, that And then the other thing that I think is just interesting that we will need to be paying attention to is that a couple of different times the engineering, so they had two engineers from Stantec here who were designing the project, the project manager from DOT and Bill Geary from Maine State Ferry Service. And twice the engineering folks mentioned the way that their plans were making sure that the ferry could stay in Lincolnville. And when asked about it, the project manager's response was that is a decision that is being made above our heads. That is a project of Bruce Van Note, the commissioner. So it is, and interestingly, Bill Geary said absolutely nothing on it. So I do think it's probably a real thing that the leadership at DOT is asking to make happen. And it wasn't really clear sort of what the timeline or communication or decision tree was going to be.
And I sensed from him, it's because they can't find people to come over here.
What do you mean?
Spend a week as a crew. So that way, they can go home at night and it saves them money. They could sell that terminal, I mean, not sell the terminal, sell the unit that they live in.
Yeah,
I know.
and the predominant wind in the whole, 8 months of the year is that east. You just. All right,
So anyway, that's a long, just flagging it as the like, interesting.
stupid. That's for the ST.
Any other ferry service updates or questions?
No, okay, let's go on.
Okay, sea level rise, we said goodbye to Liv. Joey had a nice little reception for her yesterday. Thank you to everyone that was able to attend. And our next committee meeting is going to be September 12th. Any questions?
No.
Municipal building?
Municipal building, we met with Ledgewood supervisor and we also had the architect here, Mark Roulette. The final pour was done, so we've got our floor up there.
Did you get your initials?
Oh, darn. I watched the whole thing. It's been incredible. I did a video of some of
No
it.
dog.
She'll be able to check.
Yeah. Things are gonna move really quickly now. In the next 3 weeks, we should see material being delivered for the walls and the, the roof trusses and all that stuff should be starting to come. There'll be paving happening the next 3 weeks or so. I mean, it's really gonna start, as long as the weather doesn't give us some for the ferry service.
Whether
There's been
they're-
all kinds of things with bringing over the cement trucks and making it over.
I was there that day, it was nice, I got to come over on a
Yes.
something boat.
The cement truck?
Yeah. Well, I live on Mill Creek Road, so, I'm up early, so I saw him go by, oh, I'll jump in my car, drive over and watch him.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's good.
So it's really pretty exciting. I just want to say again, Ledgewood is really a class act. They're doing an incredible job. They're really moving forward. In fact, they're totally transparent. They go over all the timelines and all their expenses and everything with us monthly. So,
And submit a bill
yeah, and so they're-
that I put away. Well, I'll pay it next time.
but
2
do you
weeks.
want to share where you're at with the?
Oh,
or is
well,
that
I was
happening
gonna
in
do
your
it at my
report? Okay,
time, but
yeah.
I can. Just-
Anything on the Up Island building?
Yes, but nothing I can say yet. We're very close. It's, what we're refining, what we're going to do, we believe we have a contract manager that is out of Northport that will oversee the whole project. And that would include, the only part that would be on island is probably, looking at possibility of electrical and also the site preparation. Otherwise, all of that work will be under the subcontracted by, under the CM, which is Northport. But it's all looking like we're going to be well under, or at least under the amount that we had, so it's all looking really good. Yeah. This is what, I don't know, this.
Any other questions? All right, upcoming meetings and subcommittee reports. We got planning board September 9th. Special town meeting September 4th.
Yeah, I didn't dare put it in there. Jinx
What's
anybody.
the September 9th planning board?
Yeah, just the regular meeting. Unless Carrie says otherwise.
Any other subcommittee reports? All right, town manager report.
All right, excuse me. I've given you the harbor committee minutes from April 18th and from May 20th. Housing committee minutes from June 20th. IMB minutes from 6/27 and energy committee minutes from July 9th. Under correspondence, we received a check from Maine Municipal Association for $2,269, a dividend check for good performance and loss prevention efforts for the town, so we generally receive something every year. Well, we haven't had any expenses or a problem, so. And I've given you a copy of the assessor's certification of assessment that was from last week on August 20th. And the mill rate is $11.90 per thousand of assessed value.
And our mill rate was 11 last year, is that
11.
correct?
Yeah. And the one mill equals $624,085. People used to like to know what that was. But my big news is, received an email today from Tony Reed at the Maine Municipal Bond Bank to say our application has been approved for the $2,616,332 for 20-year bond. Been waiting on pins and needles there about that.
Did they say what the interest rate is?
No, she did not, but and I will ask her, because I won't dare say what I think it was, just in case it's out of whack. But originally she had said 4, but,
Wow.
That's
pretty low.
great, that's true. So now we're in the process, why I had somebody re-sign something, not you, because you weren't on the board back in April when, they signed something. We're starting to gather some more data to send to them we're still have paperwork, that they will be requiring for going forward, but that was just the best news,
Yeah.
that's it for me.
Any questions for Janet? Correspondence? Any old business? Any other business? All right, let's approve warrant number 5 for FY25. Second,
Second.
any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we've got a couple of appointments tonight. Janice Petzel and Trevor Blackford to the Energy Committee and Peter Rothschild to the Sea Level Rise Committee. I would entertain a motion to approve that slate.
So moved.
Second,
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I have one there for Peter Wilcox, just correcting, he's a full member, no, I thought he was an alternate.
Gotcha.
So I just.
For the
wanted to
ferry-
correct that.
ferry advisory?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it was actually Bill Gary who emailed. And then Peter did call me. And I checked with Dave, he said, no, he did not want to be. If he had to be, he.
Okay. I have no more comments tonight. Lauren?
no comments.
No comments.
School starts tomorrow. Everybody needs to be cautious and careful of buses, small children. Everything else.
New 16-year-old drivers.
New 16-year-old drivers. There's a grip of them on the island. Yep, our junior class is decently big. I believe there's a Conover in that group too. Newish.
No, Sammy and.
We need to sign each one of these.
Yes.
Yes,
Before-
Yeah. Oh,
I
Lauren.
missed it.
but please be cautious,
Rejected.
please be good. And soccer schedules will come out soon for games.
Good.
Everybody's going to be busy supporting the junior class in October for all of our home games.
How many seniors are there this year?
Going to the nine? Yes. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All's in favor? Aye.
Carrie can go to work now.
Thank you to everybody for hanging in with us for the full meeting. I love your hair, Carrie.
Thank you.
So when you're serving food, you don't get hair.
I gotta, my hair is when I go serve food,
Where are you working?
dinner party,
Go.
summer people.
To, after this meeting?
Yep.